Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We've got a brand new piece of news update to look into for Palantir. We're not going to waste any time getting right into it. Palantir Technologies and a controversial defense contract, is the title of this headline by Bloomberg, that Google abandoned is now getting an extension on that controversial defense contract. Now, I don't think this title is too much clickbaity. It is a controversial defense contract, but it feeds into pretty much everything Palantir has been talking about from a thesis perspective, from a Western freedoms perspective, and they just got a lot of money to extend that contract. So the Defense Department awarded the data and analysis software company a broad deal to develop and deliver artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities for the special forces, the joint staff, and the branches of U.S. Armed Services. The deal's worth up to $229 million over 1 year, the company announced Thursday. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to get $229 million because it says up to $229 million, but it also doesn't mean that they can't get that. There's probably just some performance obligations. If you round it out to even 200 million, they get out of that 229. That is for 1 year. So from 2022 to 2023, whenever this contract starts and ends, they're getting a fat $229 million contract. It is one of the bigger contracts I've seen from Palantir, because even the Army Vantage contract, $116 million, I think that was over 5 years. The Space Systems Span, $43 million, I think that was over a couple of years. So to get $229 million over 1 year, very, very big contract. Now, why are they getting this much money, and what's sort of the main reason for this? Palantir's latest deal is a part of a program previously known as Project Maven, which made headlines in 2018 after employees at Alphabet Inc.'s Google objected to developing AI capabilities for the Defense Department. Google ditched the contract and Palantir took the lead, using AI and machine learning to improve existing video recognition software and analysis to increase the accuracy of actions like drone strikes. So Google was offered this contract, obviously, because Google is one of the biggest tech companies in the world back in 2018. And Google internally had some moral, ethical issues with being able to take this contract. They said, look, it's going to be hard for us to justify this. We kind of just want to be the company that gives you a funny cat video or a good search result when you click on and sell you an ad against it. We don't want to create content or, software that's ultimately going to be able to allow the United States to kill people through targeted drone strikes. And because of that ethical implication, because employees kind of hated Google for this and, revolted internally, Google let the deal go down. Whereas Palantir said, all right, yeah, your, ethical dilemma is our opportunity. Palantir has always said we need to protect Western freedoms and Western democracies. And companies like Google and other big tech companies are so big and so fast to help China and all these other dictatorial regimes and authoritarian regimes by developing, unique forms of AI for them versus helping the countries that they live in, versus helping the democracies that they live in as well. So partly founded with seed money from the CIA itself following the September 11 attacks, Palantir has a deep nationalistic root. Thiel and Chief Executive Officer Alex Karp labeled Google's abandonment of Project Maven as anti-American, and Palantir famously forced war doing business in China and other countries not allied with American interests. Google and other big tech companies have not said that. They would do anything to get into China because that's 1.4 billion new people that would be searching on their product and clicking on ads, and that's ultimately all they care about. And look, they're a business at the end of the day. That's their business model, but the fact that they have an inability to help because of the ethical dilemma that is internally inside of their company, because that company still doesn't see the ethical dilemma with working with an authoritarian regime, they do not help certain countries that have nationalistic desires. Now, the drone strikes types of ethical dilemma here, to me, at the end of the day, you want to bet on Western values winning. And if you want to bet on Western values winning, you want to bet on a country that is trying to preserve freedom and democracy. So that means when you get in a war, when you're trying to thwart a terrorist attack, yes, you need this type of software to be able to get the job done in a variety of different ways, because other countries have that as well. And when you don't have that type of software and other countries have the head on you, things go bad. And this is kind of the point about the Ukraine-Russia situation and what Alex Karp is talking about, which I'll get into in a second. This also comes after a $95.9 million contract over a 5-year period that Palantir got with the Division of Homeland Security, the Immigration Customs Enforcement. This deal further expands Palantir's footprint within the U.S. government. The company revenue from the public sector eclipses its revenue from its commercial clients. And, hopefully over time, the commercial revenue is going to be a lot bigger than the governmental revenue, which, Alex Karp has been saying U.S. commercial has been growing 67% CAGR per year, which means we should get something like that. Now, Russia, Ukraine. Karp has made a very strong point publicly. Palantir has admitted that they're working in Ukraine, that the world that we are going into is a world that is less globalized and that is more It is more of a world that has antagonisms between countries that want to defend their sovereignty and countries that don't think that they have that sovereignty in the first place. China, Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine. We have the example of Russia, Ukraine going on right now after 8 years of relative peace because Europe thought, oh, nothing's going to happen. Let's keep taking Russia's gas. Let's keep giving Putin more ammo. Like nothing's going to happen. We're okay. Something's going to happen. And so when that happens, the question is what software wins? And I think what Karp has been speaking about right now, the reason why Stanley Druckenmiller, one of the earliest investors, compared him to Steve Jobs, is because the argument is what product are you building that the world doesn't know they need to have yet, but is going to change the world if they did have that product? And Karp's argument is if we can build software that makes a small country a nuclear power without having nuclear weapons, but their ability to thwart off the Goliath being the David through software, through AI and machine learning, being able to see where the tanks are, like being able to actually beat back the giant, which is what Ukraine is doing right now, and why Russia's conscripting more and more soldiers because they don't have the ability to fight this war, then you've got a product that is very valuable, very important. And that product requires the ability to understand, hey, we need to build stuff and give it to the people that actually will do something good with it, or that we think will do the most ethical good with it. And that's something like the United States. That's something like a Western country, not a dictatorial authoritarian regime, and not back away when that country needs your help to be able to defend its own values. There's a reason the United States doesn't get invaded. There's reasons Ukraine does. There's reason other countries do. And when you have software like the stuff that they're creating for the Department of Defense in this $229 million contract, you can actualize the ability for countries to not just go away and die when a bigger dictatorial regime tries to impose their power on them. So to me, I think the ethical dilemma associated with this contract is exactly the type of debate that being a Palantir investor forces you to have. And you have to understand, why does this matter? How can I sleep at night with this? Is this important? Do I have to understand the history of Western freedoms and democracy and dictatorial regimes? And, you know, we talked about this 2 weeks ago with CodeStrap for 3 hours getting into that discussion. And people thought this was one of the best podcasts we had. I'll probably put in the description because it was such a riveting, it was such a discussion that was riveting, and it forced you to actually understand what it means to be a Palantir shareholder. And I think the evidence of this contract from a business perspective proves Karp's point that the government business will ramp up. This comes off of the $95 million they just got. So about $300 million of contract, a little bit over that in a couple of weeks, which is going to be interesting to see how Q3 turns out. And it also reinforces the ethical argument and sort of the philosophical narrative that Karp pushes about Palantir as a company. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about this contract. Link to all the audio version of my Palantir content in the description. Would really mean the world if you sign up and check out. It's my startup as well. We're trying to do something unique with audio discovery. So thank you so much for listening and watching. I will see you in the next one.